So today, or this morning, I'm going to talk about uh, uh, resting on zero, which I have talked about before, but not in a while. The open circle. The open circle. So supposedly, after Buddha uh, attained enlightenment, uh, he was called Tathagata, and sometimes it's pronounced Tathagata, and other times it's pronounced Tathagata. So it depends on where the G is in the pronunciation. If the G is Tathagata, then it's thus gone. He who left all that fuzzy other stuff that clogs us up, he left it. He left it. And when he left it, then he was I get this mixed up when I say Tathagata. He came back to just being here, to just being here. Um, and so we call him the Tathagata or the Tathagata. And according to Mahayana Buddhism, and we are Mahayana Buddhists, we have in us Tathagata Garbha. We have Buddha nature. And it's Garbha is also translated as womb. So the womb of Buddha is our own womb, our exact same womb. And by tapping into the stillness and the darkness of our womb, we tap into the Buddha nature because Buddha's womb is our womb. So before Buddha, as most of you know, because most of you are pretty seasoned, I think I see most of you when you're pretty seasoned. Before he was given that name, as we know, Mara was after him, right? And Mara, during the last few days, stood right next to Buddha and did everything he could to intimidate him. So that in Buddha's face that he seems to be part of Buddha's thinking. And so Buddha supposedly says, I see your troops all around me, Mara, but I will proceed with the struggle. Even if the whole world cannot defeat your army, I will destroy it with the power of wisdom, just as an unfired pot is smashed by a stone. And supposedly, Mara was riding an elephant with thousands of troops in each many different platoons. There was a platoon of sensual desire, a platoon of discontent, a platoon of hunger and thirst, a platoon of craving, lethargy, fear, doubt, restlessness, longing for gain. A lot of platoons. In case you haven't noticed how many platoons are in your own psyche. Praise, honor, longing for fame, and he was besieged and attacked by all these platoons so that he couldn't, to try to divert him, so he couldn't see or do anything. And we all experience these platoons. We all experience these platoons, and they tighten us. They tighten our neuromuscular lock. We get locked in neurologically and muscularly to a way of being to protect ourselves because we're scared. But supposedly, Buddha did, and more than supposedly, we can recognize they're impersonal, they're ephemeral, they're not solid, they're not brittle. We can stop compulsively getting tangled up in our thoughts, in our feelings, and our sensations that are, especially the ones that arise as me or mine. And then when that happens, Mara no longer gets us. Doesn't mean he doesn't come in, he just no longer gets us. William Blake says, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to us as it is, infinite. For we have closed ourselves up till we see all things through narrow chinks of the cavern. So rather than fighting, fleeing, freezing, folding, the four main amygdala activities, we have the possibility to open beyond the narrow chinks, that the amygdala fires up and does to protect us. That's why it does it, to protect us. Closed ourselves. We closed ourselves, but we can open to this womb nature. You can't see my belly, but of course in Zen in particular, they talk about the womb nature as being the hara, but that's just a metaphor. The womb nature is right here, wherever we are, but the metaphor is it's in the belly, it's in the hara, and we breathe through the hara. Our womb nature, empty, warm, fecund, that means rich, dark, safe, protected, our womb nature, and bursting with energy, with joy, with light. Tathagata Garbha, our womb nature, our Buddha nature. But the Mara within us compulsively resists. This is a little too much, this openness. We need to resist, freeze, isolate, cut off. Many, many people experience this when their meditation begins to really deepen. So in my one-to-ones with people the last 10, 15 years, I've been doing a lot of guided meditation. I never used to do that, but to help them discover safety in themselves, to not be terrorized by their thoughts. So we have the potential through our meditation in our lives, our practice, to let these emotions pass through, whatever they are, and rest on zero. Zero sounds kind of cold, but not when you think of it in the Mahayana Buddha way of Tathagata Garbha, our womb nature. So, as you know, nothing exists without zero, whether it's 87 or 870 or 8.23 or 832,000. So, yeah, but a couple of weeks ago, I got back from the Rockies where my family went, including my grandsons. And every day at the end of the day, my grandsons would talk about the activities they'd done and they would rate them. Ethan would say, well, I went horseback riding and it was an 8. And Logan said, well, I went swimming and it was an 8.5. They do 1 to 10 scale. They're 12 and 15. Grandpa, what did you do? Well, what was your number? So we rate our experience. We want to have positive experiences. We don't like to have negative experiences. The first 3 days we were up in the Rockies, the sky was full of smoke from the fires in Oregon. Well, that was like about for me, a 2 when I look at the sky, a 1. And then when you anticipate what's going to happen, it gets down to quite a bit lower. And I really feel worried and sad for my species and all the species, and but it still rests on zero. It still rests on zero, whatever the number is. Zero means the stillness that's here, the stillness that's inside, and the fecundity of the womb that all life emanates from, that's our own womb. Wow. Wow. So, according to Buddhist Mahayana teaching, well, actually Theravada teaching too, but particularly Mahayana, the strongholds of Mara are the 5 realms. There are 6 realms including the humans, but he only gets half of the human realm. But the others he dominates. He dominates the God realm. He dominates the fighting spirit realm. He dominates the angry, hungry ghost realm. He dominates the hell realm. He dominates the animal realm. He dominates those realms. And so I've been teaching Vimalakirti recently, and Vimalakirti teaching is go right into each of those realms. Don't try to transcend them. They'll just follow you. Go right into them. Go right into them with your kind, calm attention. Instead of fleeing them, fighting them, freezing them, go right into them. Doesn't mean indulge them. Doesn't mean that. And when I was at Naropa years ago, we had a class where we each chose, we each selected, we didn't choose our predominant realms, and had a lot of discussion about predominant realms we get stuck in. And some of us do have, most of us do have some predominant realm. And my predominant realm then, many, many years ago, and now, because it's based on conditioning, right? Based on conditioning, is fighting spirit. That's my predominant realm, fighting spirit. Um, So, and that's, I can know that. I can be with that. I can take care of that. Um, and I can apologize when I do it because I still do it. You know, you can practice for 84 years, you still have this conditioning in you. I can laugh at myself, especially if someone pokes me. Oh, sorry. Oh, that was kind of rude, wasn't it? Oh. So, in sorry that my phone's ringing. I can't do anything about it. Many of you are familiar with the Enso, the Unso, actually, the circle in Japanese Buddhist calligraphy. It's pretty cool. But with the Enso, our point of view doesn't crystallize into a position. So the circle's not closed down. Zero's not closed. Zero's open. All the numbers come out of it, including the negative numbers. They all come out of it. They all return to it. And to know this, to be really good at calligraphy, the way Kaz Tanahashi is, and Katagiri was too, but Kaz Tanahashi in particular. And I have a Kaz Tanahashi behind my desk at Zen Center for the last year and a half. I've been talking online between with this in the background. This is not a Kaz Tanahashi one. Takes patience and persistence to do this, to get good at this. Kaz spent 10,000 hours. I think he said by the time he was 30, he had spent 10,000 hours tracing, doing the Enzo over and over again, over and over. 10,000 hours, yes. But through his patience and persistence, the third and the fourth paramitas, his tracing became so imprinted until he was just able to do it. And you can see the life in it, the richness in it, and the flaws are right there, but they're part of the whole deal. They're part of living. They're part of living. So the circle's never closed, it's never complete. There are always new possibilities for us, even at my advanced age. I have a possibility to change some of those fighting spirits' behaviors. Ah, sure, why not? Why not? But still do those things. Leonard Cohen says, uh, the crack is where the light gets in. The crack is where the light gets in. And my teacher said, oh, no, that's not oh, yeah, sure, he's my teacher. Dogen said, he's my teacher. A Zen adept's life is one mistake after another. And my teacher teases me sometimes. She said, oh, there's Zen master Tim Roshi, after I've done something kind of dumb or stupid, or I don't do fighting purist stuff with her, something dumb or stupid. Oh, there's Tim Roshi. Well, what does that mean anyway? And my teacher said, not Dogen, but and not Katagiri Roshi, but Suzuki, you are perfect as you are, and you could use a little improvement. We aspire to move beyond the the realm that we're caught in, but we can't get out of it or running from it. We just have to breathe with it, be intimate with it, acknowledge it, be kind to it, and move through it. Move through it. Then we can live more authentically from the openness of being, the openness of our Buddha womb. Tathagata Garbha. Tathagata Garbha. So Vimalakirti talked about meeting Mara without resisting Mara, without resisting Mara. And he has one phrase where he talks about eating and fully digesting the poisons. It's the three poisons that keep the six realms going. In the center of the six realms are the three poisons: greed, anger, and hatred. He says, don't run away from them. Eat them and digest them. And Katagiri Roshi used to talk about just digesting, just digesting, just digesting. And then we're not caught by those realms so much. And we have Tathagata Garbha to help us. We also have the mythology of Prajnaparamita, Buddha's mother, the open circle, Buddha's mother, Prajnaparamita, who gives birth to all Buddhas to help us as our mama. She shows us how to come back to the womb that we've never really left. And she's got incredible fertility. So if you read about her, you see that she gives birth not just to Shakyamuni Buddha, but to dozens, scores, thousands, millions of Buddhas, including us, including Tim Buddha, Susan Buddha, and Myo Buddha, and every Buddha. That's what she's doing. That's what she's doing. So the umbilical cord has never been cut, really. We think it's been cut, and we're all by ourselves. I know that, especially these days. Especially these days, this American culture with all the suffering right now, which is only going to continue. Only going to continue. We didn't pay attention. Geez, if only a few people listened to Jimmy Carter back in 1980 when he told us to turn down our thermostats and start wearing sweaters. And he put those solar panels in the White House. Oh, if only we'd listened, but we didn't. So here we are. Here we are. But this incredible fertility within us, ability to feel a calmness in spite of what happens in the world, in spite of whether it's a minus 32 or a plus 32, this stillness, this calmness, this joy, it's evoked in other practices as well. It's evoked in Hindu practice. Ramakrishna cried to return to the womb of Kali Ma, she who is black, she who is deaf. When you read about her, she sounds like Prajnaparamita. When you read about Prajnaparamita, she sounds like Kali. She sounds like Ma, Ma, Ma. And his deep longing and his deep practice, Ramakrishna's tears for Kali were her tears for him, her tears for all of us, so that we can all open into the inner being that emanates from this wonderful womb of life. And I've also, as those of you who've been with me know, spent a lot of time, well, not a lot of time, relatively speaking, but it was quite a bit of time when I was younger working with a Lakota teacher, Elmer Running, and uh, went on a long vision cry for 4 days and 4 nights. We could say it's the Lakota version of a sesshin, but we could also say this sesshin is a version of the Lakota hamblecha. So we don't know. We don't know. Meditate and pray the whole time, although you get to lie down. You don't have to sit up. Meditate and pray the whole time with a pipe. The pipe instead of the cosmic mudra. Here's the circle of the cosmic mudra. We have the circle of the pipe. The circle of the pipe. This is my pipe that my teacher, Elmer Running, gave me. I gave it to him and he gave it back to me. Just like people sew their raksus, they give them to the teacher gives them back to them in a little ceremony, right? And in this pipe, according to Lakota tradition, we put the tobacco in the pipe. We fill the tobacco all the way to the top, and it's all the species of life are in the pipe, in the circle. Oh, sounds like Buddhism. Look, Elmer said, wrong. He says, Buddhism sounds like Lakota. Okay. Wrong is right, right is wrong. We don't care. All the species. We don't want to kick out any. We want to, and then we smoke them up together. We smoke all the species up together so they realize they're together. So they experience that togetherness. So it's not just some empty ritual. We smoke them up together. And when I went up on the hill, I was supposed to, instead of keep the cosmic mudra for the whole time, I was supposed to have the pipe rest on me the whole time. And when I slept, it was fine to sleep, but I couldn't let the pipe fall over because one of the species would fall out. Oh no. And I went to sleep in the middle of the night and I have to tell you this, several species fell out. I put them back in. I don't know if they were dead or alive, but I did my best to put them back in. To do my best to keep the cosmic mudra, even though it's always getting limp. Always gets limp. These are the symbolic ways that we help ourselves come back to this stillness that's always here. And when you do the hamblecha, when I did the hamblecha, you have a little area you stay within, like we stay within the area of our zafu and our zavatan, and a little area where you surround with tobacco ties that you've tied up together and put them in a cord. So it's kind of like making a raksu, only. Or Elmer would say the other way. Well, I won't go through that. Because daily life, everybody helps you make the raksu. Everybody helps you do the tobacco ties. And of course, this is how we greet each other. This is how we thank each other. This is how we are with each other in Zen. And in Lakota teaching of Elmer, we just say Mitakuye, all my relatives. Always we say Mitakuye before we start a meal, before we end a meal. Teacher says something kind to us or does something for us, our friends, Mitakuye. So different, but the same. All my relatives is Mitakuye. So I was teaching kids at Zen Center during kids' time this last year during the pandemic. I wasn't teaching them at Zen Center. I was teaching them online. And we started with the Gasho. Finally after they got comfortable with me, it took them for a while to get comfortable with me. They said, well, why do we do this every time? And I said, oh, well, this is just my heart and your heart. We're just coming together. We just come together. They're one heart, but they're two. One heart and they're two. Mitakuye-oyasin, all my relatives, all of my relatives here in us, supporting us. We're pretty lucky, don't you think? We're pretty lucky. So in our tradition, we say the triple treasures: Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, teacher, teaching, and community. In Lakota, Elmer was my teacher. The teaching, you can read Black Elk Speaks if you want to get the teaching or some of those other teachings, and the community. So after Paul and I came down from our 4 days and 4 nights with no food or water, they gave us some food, and then we made a big feast for the community. A big feast for the community that had been supporting us. So in our retreats, it takes a whole community. In case you don't remember, the Tenzo, the Ino, the cooks, the servers, everybody gather. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, everybody together. Everybody together. And when I came down from the hill, and Elmer brought me down from the hill, he said, I think this is my first book, he said, "Did you have one of them visions?" And I said, "Yes, I did, Elmer. You want me to tell you about it?" He said, "Nope." So a lot of people have them visions. Not very many people live them. Zero, you guys, zero. With its energy of life pouring forth. You think you've got some Kensho, you want some Kensho. Forget it. You just get neurologically locked on it. Just breathe into your neuromuscular lock about the Kensho you want to have, or did have, or should have had, or someone else has, and come back to zero. That's the circle. Circle in Mahayana, really, I think, first best articulated by Nagarjuna in his Tetralemma. The four directions: north, south, east, west. Four cardinal directions in a circle. In a circle. Nagarjuna's. You're suffering. That's the one. Let's say that's the northern part of the circle. That's its limitation is negated. You are not suffering. Shall we put that at the east? Oh no, we're supposed to go clockwise. Yes, the west. You are not suffering, but we negate that. You are both suffering and you are not suffering. You are neither suffering nor are you not suffering. So we negate all those because we get neuromuscularly locked in all of those. At the same time, Nagarjuna is doing this teaching. Vimalakirti is talking about how negation leads to affirmation. And so he's giving his teaching in the courtesan's garden. In the courtesan's garden, he has a successful business. He's a capitalist. He's enjoying kids and he's made a lot of money. He's visiting whorehouses without having sex. He's embracing Mara without getting caught by Mara. Embracing Mara without getting caught by Mara. Because Mara, the more we run away, the more Mara's going to chase us. And then 100 to 200 years later in China, after Vimalakirti, we have Huayan. The negation of the negation of the negation has turned into the affirmation of the affirmation of the affirmation, both and Buddhism. This is the way I teach the Tetralemma. When I teach it, I have people actually do some body movement sometimes. Yes. Linda, I pick on my wife all the time. Linda did something that made me angry. Yes, I'm angry. But I'm also not angry because the very fact that I can recognize my anger, I can be with it, I can breathe with it, shows that I'm not angry. That it's just a memory and just a neuromuscular law. But I'm still angry too. I shouldn't negate it once there. So that third one, part of the tetralemma is just holding both, not clenching them, but just holding them, anger and not anger, within the womb of Buddha, holding them both. And then the fourth one of the tetralemma is moving beyond. I'm neither angry nor not angry. I have infinite possibility. I don't diss the others. I'm just not caught by them. That's the Hawaiian school of Buddhism. And I think I want to close with the two most prominent metaphors from the Hawaiian school. The one which you guys know really well. On the second, some of you know, but not all of you. The first one is Indra's nap. Indra's nap. So the god Indra, and people were disappointed to find out, as I was, that Buddhism is full of gods. Well, we think we've gotten rid of gods when we do Buddhism, but actually we've got a multiplicity of gods. We think when we leave Hinduism, which I did before, we get rid of them, but you start reading the sutras, and they're all over the place. Anyway, the god Indra, who's the creator of the Buddhist universe, throws out a huge net of many splendored jewels, and that's all of life. That's all of life. And each one of those jewels reflects to all the others. And each is flawed, but in its crack, is where it really reflects all the others. So the more I am who I am, just authentically who I am, with my fighting spirit flaws, and I just am with that, the more I feel undivided from all life. The more authentically we are who we are, the more we feel that Buddha womb is manifesting as us and as our friends and even as our enemies. We feel that. We feel that. So the final metaphor, which not so well known, but I've talked about it at some center a few times, probably quite a few times. I'm working on my third book, and I come up with all these brilliant thoughts from my third book, and I send them to my editor, and she says, "Well, that wasn't your first book. Go to page 32." I said, "No." She said, "Yes, I'm gonna." I said, "Well, I put my books away." She said, "Don't put them away." This in page 32. She said, "Oh, that's Wanda." She does that all the time. I don't know. What do I know? Anyway, the second metaphor, building, the metaphor of the building. The building is all reality, the building. And there's a rafter in the building that supports the whole building, that holds up the whole building. And the way the Hawaiian teacher talk about it is that the rafter, we could say it's interdependent with the building, but actually they say the rafter is when it's just the rafter, it's the whole building. Because without the rafter, there would be no building. So the rafter, when it's just being the rafter, now if the rafter tries to be the ceiling, the whole building falls down. If the rafter wishes it were the floor and tries to be the floor, the whole building falls down. So the rafter, by just being the rafter, is manifesting the whole building. Pretty cool. Pretty cool metaphor. These guys must have had a lot of time on. They're mostly guys, unfortunately. A lot of time on their hands to come up with all these wonderful metaphors. Well, they did. They spent their 10,000 hours, their 100,000 hours sitting. So we're all alive just by being who we are. All we need to do, and we don't even need to do it, this just happens through our practice. We settle into Tathagata, our Buddha nature, and it quite naturally helps us just be here in very difficult times for Americans, and they're only going to get difficult. What's it going to be like? I told my grandson, who was 15, I said, "Well, Ethan, you said you want to live in the United States when you're grown up." He's lived in. They were born in France and they lived there their whole lives. I said, "But you know there is climate change," and he said, "Yeah, I know about that. I read about that." And I said, "I know you were interested in New York or California, but I want to show you an article where the best place to live is going to be. It's still going to be hard, but according to this prediction, it's going to be northern Minnesota." And he said, "Northern Minnesota? Minneapolis is already too cold, Grandpa." And I said, "Well, northern Minnesota is going to be getting balmy, and they have lots of water, and they don't have any hurricanes or any fires. Of course, it's not going to exactly be getting balmy." He said, "Oh, okay, Grandpa." And I said, "Of course, I don't know, Ethan. We have to do what we can to still protect the planet. We have to do everything we can." And he said, "Yes, Grandpa, I know. I learned that in school." And I said, "Well, yes, but let's try to do it now." He said, "I'm trying." He said, "Are you trying?" I said, "Yeah, I'm trying." He's kind of sassy. Fun to have grandkids who are sassy. Have kids who are sassy is not so fun. But to have grandkids who are sassy is really fun. So that's what I want to say for this morning, and I'd be happy to take any questions or comments from anybody. Let's see what time it is. 9:30. I started. 10:09. We have a little time. I don't know, Susan. Do we have time? Okay. So anybody has anything, be happy to answer a question or hear a comment or hear a story.
Yes, well, they can
Hi. Looks like, is that Sue Harrington?
hear you. Oh no, Sue Harrington's yeah, there. She's there.
Hi, Sue. Wow,
Hello.
seen you for 132 years.
It's been a while.
How are you?
Very, very well, thank you. And in northern Minnesota, thank you.
I heard you moved to the North Shore a few years ago.
Yeah.
Where
Well,
are you? Where are you on the North Shore?
we're in Lax Lake, which is just outside of Silver Bay, about an hour north of Duluth.
Oh, yeah.
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 So thank you so much. This was great. I resonated to the womb metaphor, which wasn't as familiar to me, but I've been working so much on compassion, self-compassion and compassion, trying to work with images. And the image that had come to me a couple years ago, and working with developing that safe feeling inside, was my grandmother's hug.
Ah, wow.
A wonderful feeling that I always had when she would hug me. And that has become kind of my womb image, my metaphor that has really helped me uh, be able to stay present with, as you said, whatever comes up. And so I'm working with that image and working with that healing. And I just so appreciated all of your sharing today. It reinforced that. It underlined it and enlightened it for me too. So, but wonderful to see you too. Thank you.
Wonderful to see you, Sue. And yes, that's a wonderful metaphor that you've selected. There are these maternal metaphors that can really help us. The paternal ones, they can help us too, but my experience with us as human beings, meaning mostly with people I've counseled at Zen Center, and I actually go back. It's not just been the last 18, 20 years. I started counseling people at Zen Center many, many years ago. Is that we have a dearth of self compassion. We have a dearth of self compassion. And we need the masculine principle, what we need, mama. And
Mm.
it's here for us. Because that, for some reason, is what so many of us are lacking. And yet she's here. So thank you for reminding us of that. I'll be quiet for another couple minutes and see if anybody else would like to share.
Joan, did you have something?
I'll say thank you very much. It's nice to hear you once again.
I can't hear you, Joan, because
There's an echo.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
My name's Abhi. I know some of you, so it's good to see some familiar faces. I'm actually currently in New York, not underwater at the moment. But for me, as a young person, it seems like there's more pressure than ever to be somebody, to create something, to figure out what my raftness is. And that's true economically. I mean, more jobs are about making your own thing or becoming your own entrepreneur, not sort of being part of an entity. And then simultaneously, I feel this immense pressure to contribute to the collective, to do something in this precious moment that I have. But often what that manifests in is just a lot of anxiety and pacing around the room and pulling out my hair and trying to figure out how to be somebody. So I'm just wondering about your thoughts on chewing through some of those feelings and digesting some of those feelings.
So you pronounce it Abi or Abi?
Yeah, you got it, Abhi.
Abi. Do you have a sitting practice?
Yeah.
You do. Uh-huh. And do you have a mentor or a teacher?
Yeah.
You do. And do you have a community of like-minded people to do this with? To support you?
Not. I mean, this point, I'm sort of resettled here in New York, so sort of starting anew.
Uh-huh.
But
Well,
I sort of.
So rather than answer your question directly, I talk a lot about the importance of the three-legged stool. Uh, I've been amazed. I knew nothing about 12 steps growing up in California. I'd never heard of it. And yet, during all the years I've been at Zen Center, so many people have done some kind of 12-step program. And 12 steps depends on the three-legged stool. I think they do even a better job than we do. Buddha, you have a sponsor. Dharma, you have the big book. Sangha, you've got your meetings. So as spiritual practitioners, as human beings, we need those. If we're going to go deep and discover this stillness and live from it without worrying about getting a special experience, if we're going to appreciate our individuality without thinking we have to be entrepreneurs the way some other person needs to be an entrepreneur, because we already have this undividedness with them. We need all three. We need a sponsor. We need some teaching we follow, and we need some community. And, I lived in northern Minnesota, I think longer than Sue. How long have you been there, Sue?
We've been full time about 11 years now.
Oh, no, I didn't live longer than Sue. Wow. I lived there for 5 years. And I had a very small, fragile Sangha of 2 people for that whole time. We sat every day, Randy and I. He was not even a Buddhist. We studied stuff every day. We sat twice a day. I didn't have my teacher because my teacher was dead, but then Katagiri came. I didn't, how could he come? Why did she show up? Then I had a teacher. I had the 3-legged stool again. So I emphasize that, whatever form it could take, that you're feeling kind of split. The way to heal it is to depend on the 3-legged stool. 2-legged stool falls over. 3-legged stool falls over too sometimes, but not as often. So that's my very indirect way of answering your question. I don't know if that's helpful. You want
Yeah.
to be more specific and how? And
No, I don't know. It's a process, but certainly community is a critical part of any spiritual practice. Or yeah.
peers you can bounce stuff off with. That's all.
Say that again.
Peers that you can bounce
Yeah.
deep concerns and issues off of, who are doing the same thing as you. And then someone you respect in a mentor or teaching position that you can develop a relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1 or 2 books, Buddhist books, or maybe some phrases that you tap on, that you put on your refrigerator that teach.
Thank you.
Sure. We'll be quiet for another minute.
Jim, I'd just like to take this chance to say hello. We're down here at Hokyoji. We have a little group for our week, our week at Hokyoji. And so you are part of our week-long practice. And so here is another chance to hear you give a Dharma talk. When I first went to the Minnesota Zen Center at the end of the 1970s, you were a leader there, and here you are 40-some years later, and you're still a leader at the Minnesota Zen Center. Or you're once again, or something like that, you're continuing leadership. Anyway, I hope this won't be the last time we see each other. We're still in this world, but I just wanted to say I'm happy that you are alive in this world, and I thank you for your great effort on behalf of the Dharma over a lifetime. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much, and good luck in your teaching. Good luck in your teaching. And our teaching and our living, I'm not saying this to Michael, I'm saying this to myself and to all of you guys, need to be in sync. Need to be in sync. If our teaching is here and our living is here, this is in sync. My hand in your hand, my heart in your heart, in sync, in sync. Even if my teaching is a little flawed, in sync, in sync, in sync. Even if my teaching is very flawed and my fighting spirit comes out, in sync, in sync. So in 1975, I'm 78. In 1975, we moved into this neighborhood of Uptown, knowing that the Zen Center was buying this property by Bide Makaska. And Linda said to me, my wife, she said, I'm tired of moving. All we do is move from one place to another. Can we stay here for a while? That was in 1975. Here we are. We're both 78 now. Here we are. So you never know. You never know. Well, thank you very much, and wonderful to be with you. And I hope your retreat goes really well, you guys. We're going to be down there, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks doing a retreat ourselves. So, and you know, it's just nice to be there now and luxuriate, if there's such a word, because it used to be Not very luxurious. It used to be hard. Just crossing that stream, way back, way back. We had to cross that stream to get in. We were half soaked by the time we even got in. And look what you guys have done. Look what you've done with the help of your mama. Look what you've done. So thank you so much.
Jim, I wanted to also, this is Dokai, thank you so much for your Dharma talk and in accepting the invitation to speak with us. And yes, we've spent some time this week talking about old times. And I also want to say to the assembly that if there's any one person who's responsible for me being here at Hokyoji right now, it's you, Tim. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. That's very generous of you. It's Katagiri Roshi. He's the one who selected the place. And then kept the candle burning throughout thick and thin. Still keeps it burning. But Katagiri Roshi, me, you, we're all manifestations of our big mama, Rajna Paramita, the dark Kali, who devours us all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Tim. So now I want to make a couple announcements. In the chat box, you'll find a link if you'd like to donate to Hokyoji for the continued efforts we make to offer teaching and Dharma practice. And I'd like to also remind you that we have Sunday Zoom, we have weekday Zoom Zazen, Thursdays through Sundays, that you can join at any time, and you can find the link to that on our webpage. And also, I'd like to say next week we have Ryushin Jan Fryer, who's here today, is going to give our Dharma talk, and he gives wonderful Dharma talks, so I hope you can make it to that. And you'll find, each month you'll find the speakers for that month on our website. So, let's see. Anything else I'm forgetting? No? I'm relying on you, Kosen. Okay. All right, so thank you very much. Let's do the closing chant. Beings are numberless.
I vow
Freedom.
illusions are impossible. I vow
You and them.
Dharma gates are
boundless.
I
Them. To it.
Them.
vow
With
is
Unsurpassable.
I vow
Bowing
to realize it. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you for coming.
bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.